Welcome back, brothers, to the 801st Legion podcast, a Star Wars Legion podcast. Today, hot takes, meta review, and local tournament report. So without further ado, punch it, Josh.
Hello there.
You must unlearn
Dark
what you
side of
have
the
learned.
Force is a pathway to many abilities.
Red, green, or red, green, red.
I know that
You got you'll do!
Sorry about the mess.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you.
General Kenobi.
Let's rearrange some architectures.
Is it possible to learn this power?
I thank you for your hospitality.
Twice the pride, double the fall.
Impressive.
I'll show you the dark side.
We're back!
We're back!
Yeah!
We're back after a long weekend of just Star Wars Legion, more Star Wars Legion.
Oh,
So
my
much Star
goodness.
Wars Legion.
And how good it was. Josh, how are you feeling today?
I might go get another monster. I'm not gonna lie. Holy crap.
I'm on the no soda kick right now. It's my New Year's resolution. And today, as of today, we are almost 2 weeks in with no soda. It is killing me.
Yeah.
It really is. Because no soda means no caffeine. So,
Coffee.
oh, I don't do coffee.
Just put it with a bunch of creamer. It's basically soda.
It's the same amount of sugar.
Yeah, I guess that defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
Anyway, but we're talking about Legion and our local event that we just ran.
We did. And I know we're jumping right into it because there was... Man, I could talk about this topic we have today for... till the cows come home. And I don't even own cows, so that would be a long time. But, man, there's so much.
We just go on and on and on. So that's why we're like, we gotta go.
Mr.
We gotta get everything in.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Josh, you did run the event. So I'm going to let you... do you want to give an overview of what happened?
Yeah,
Or
let's
the
do it.
overview of the tournament setup? And
Give a broad picture.
yeah, and then we can dive in.
Cool. So we had 16 people show up for this tournament. We had 8 Empire, 5 droids, 2 rebels, 1 clone trooper. So
And I want to caveat this with mask mandates went out
the
12
night
hours
before.
Yeah.
yeah.
So we should have had our 20 with our pre-registration, and we had a couple people on standby, but by that point it was a little late.
Yeah, just with the last minute. By the way, everyone was super cool about that. Like, I cannot stress that enough, how because it was thrown at us last second, like literally I was scrambling the night before going like, everyone, you have to bring masks. Like, you have to. The store owner is going to be in here tomorrow to enforce it. Like, we have to do this.
Don't forget.
So,
Nobody did forget.
Nobody did. Everyone was super cool about
Everybody
it.
was very cool about it. But yeah, 16 people, man. So not the biggest, but also definitely not the smallest. And my gosh, did people come to play?
Oh my, yeah. Like, of all the 16 people, like, these were like no holds barred, knuckle down, beat 'em up list. Like, I'm looking at these, they're all right here in front of me, and I'm like, these are like, this isn't our meme list that we did a couple tournaments ago.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
I feel like you get that in every tournament where there's like half the people are coming to play, half the those are the people who net listed their armies, or the people who just are good at them.
And then there's people who are like, I just want to play Legion.
Yeah, like-
push my stormtroopers around, go pew pew,
Yeah.
throw the dice. No, people didn't do that. They like came to win.
Oh my gosh, every game was. I played in it. Every game was such a nail biter and such a stress. It was very hard. It was a very hard thing to work through, but that made it a lot of fun. What is cool is that we, I think, had such great participation because my man here, Josh, made some amazing prizes. I don't know if you guys have seen these already.
Aw, thanks. They were super cool. We had, so everyone got, there was a lot of alt art cards. We just made community standing orders, which everybody got for playing. The top 8s all got alt art cards for push, assault, and ambush. The generic cards from the starter set. Top 4 got custom acrylic tokens with aim, dodge, surge, wound tokens were in there. And then
Of course.
3rd, 2nd, and 1st also got gift cards, so they're cash prizes. Cash, whatever.
Yeah.
And then 1st place got a trophy.
My gosh, if you guys haven't seen this trophy, go online, take a look, go to the Discord. Somebody will post it for you. This thing was sweet. Like, it was beyond anybody's expectations. It was so cool.
It was really cool.
It was really cool.
It came with a remote.
Yeah.
Change colors.
It was so freaking cool, man. It was really nice watching it just kind of sit there. Like
A lot of people, like, once games were over, I saw a bunch of people just, like, looking over at it. I was like, yeah, there it is. There it is.
Well, we were even getting comments from other people that were like, this is the best trophy I've ever seen, like, for any of the tournaments around here.
Yeah,
It's been really cool.
It was just the fulcrum symbol. Which, by the way, I posted those on just, like, the generic Legion groups in the Discord and on the Facebooks and all that. We're at, like, 200-something likes.
Yeah. It's so cool, man.
Shares, whatever. Like, there's been a lot of comments online. I'm like, hey, we did cool things.
Really entertaining stuff. My favorite part about it was the RGB. So what Josh did is he cut out the acrylic into the fulcrum symbol, and it sat on a little pedestal with RGB LED lights on the bottom that changed and rotated. And it's just so cool, man. Very jealous. It's like so jealous. Like I wanted that trophy pretty bad. I really did.
A lot of people did. But a lot of people were also like, I just want top 8. And I was like, that's good enough. Like, you're fighting for something. Because, especially, like, for how long I've been playing Wargaming, you get, like, not everybody at a tournament is going to be like, I'm going to be number 1. People are like, no, such and such person has been playing so much longer, and I've played them in casual nights, like, they're going to stomp all over me, I'm never going to win first place. And you go into tournaments with that mentality. But people were like, I can get top 8. I can do this. I'm fighting for top 8. And I was like, it was cool to see because people fought hard.
Right? And people punched, in my opinion, above their weight classes.
Yeah.
And I hate to put it out this way, but I think everybody, when you look around your local community, the global community, there are names associated with players, and in your mind you get this idea of player level. And as I was looking around, there were people where I was like, okay, like you're going to perform well. You'll do well today. You may not win all your games, but I'm sure you'll do well. And those people came out and they outperformed. It's amazing what a little bit of an incentive that is attainable does to competition. It was really, really cool to see. Also, I think there were the least hurt feelings. You know what I mean? Like, I think everybody played hard but expected outcomes. I don't think anybody was like, oh, like that felt bad. Because I think every tournament I've been to so far, there's always a couple where people show up and they're like, oh, I'm just here to have fun, but secretly they're here to play hard.
And then they don't, and like that happens. Yeah, me.
Yeah, that's happened. I have been that person.
My double saber list. I was like, I'm gonna do well with this, and I just get curb stomped for the whole day, and I'm like, oh, that didn't work.
And you're
guess I'm just gonna double down on learn how to do Rexstar for the next 3 months until it gets obliterated. I don't know what you're talking about. That doesn't happen.
Never happens. Dang it, RRG. It happens. Yeah, man, it was a pretty great time. But yeah, those people blew me away.
Yeah. So let's talk about. Well, first of all, do you want to talk about, because you played in it? Do you want to talk about anything?
Yeah, I can do I'll do a quick run through of my experiences real quick. We just did the 3 rounds. We gave people the option to cut to 4, but it was like 5 o'clock by that point, and everybody.
It was 7.
Oh yeah, it was like 7 by the end, and people had been here playing since like 10, but even then, people were showing up at like 8:30 to set up their game tables and to register, because we did pre-registration, so people had to register, get lists checked in. You know.
Plus, we advertised it as a 3-round thing. And we're like, I'm not going to force people to play 4 rounds when, for 6 weeks, we've been saying it's going to be 3.
Yeah, it was. By that point, it was worth just leaving it there. But yeah, I made top 8, which was great. I felt like this was probably the best tournament I had ever played in. Like my skills were just best I had ever been. And we actually ended up using. I know a lot of tournaments use the tabletop TO and they go off SOS. Strength of schedule for those at home. Josh actually went and calculated the MOV per the rules reference for tournament, which was great. So what happened is, first round, I went up against Aaron. It was a droid mirror. I was running the list that I posted to the Discord, so it was Kalani, triple B2 Haas.
It's the one that we talked about in the last episode.
Yeah, the one in the last episode, which was actually, it performed really well. I had a lot of fun with it. And I think the big thing that held it together was honestly the B2s. I mean, I know people, especially lately, are starting to fill out B1s a lot. That HA, it just puts in work, man. Like, shots that you know you need to take, but just seem like worthless. You know those shots where you're like, well, I need to go after this guy, but they're in heavy cover, and they have a dodge. But this unit has none of that stuff. Like, it lets you not get baited easier. It's
You're
really
shooting at
nice.
something in the open.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
Because blast is such a good keyword.
And with Impact 2, that's just as long as you roll the 2 hits, you're getting the 2 crits. It's just you're forcing your opponent to make saves, which came in very handy. Because that first turn, or that first game, we were both matched on activations. He was running a spider, I was running a spider. He was running his Magna Guard. He was running triple Magna Guard. I was running double Magnas. He had a B2 with ACM. I had triple B2 Haas. And so what we ended up doing was kind of just walking around each other turn 1. But he played his 2 pip, and I played the droid 3 pip. To get surges. Roger. No, I didn't. I played standing orders. That's right, because that's the one game I got to play the standing orders. The new one.
Oh, yeah, because you got those before the tournament started.
Yeah. It was like our thanks for coming. And it was... Yeah, I got to play with the new standing orders I got, which was really cool. So I got to go last, which meant that I got a quick shot off with my Magna Guards with the RPS, and it killed a B2.5. Because, critical plus impact 2, just with a move shoot with the aim, hit the B2s, and immediately he was like, oh crap, got to go with the B2s. So they ran up to the key position in the middle to try and get cover. But that one setup was probably the one mistake he made in the entire game. Because there was not many mistakes made. I think that was the only one. But that meant that they were out just enough to get shot, which meant that by the end of turn 1, I was up 1 activation. And then the race to see whose Magna Guards went last started. And because I was up in activation, it was just a little bit easier. Super stressful game. I did end up pulling out the KP 2-1 with tons of kill points. Game 2 was going up against Ethan, who was the list I was... So I had 2 lists I didn't want to play. I didn't want to play double ATSTs. I did not want to play against Vader Dewbacks. Ethan ran Weiss triple Dewbacks, Death Trooper, triple Scout Troopers, and then triple Snow Troopers. It was like 11 activations of just full hitters.
But no Vader.
But no Vader!
So, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that stressful.
And then we got key positions, which I was like, okay, this is probably okay. But then he forced, what do you call it? Danger close.
Oh, yeah, so you were around the corners of each other.
I made sure to deploy range 1 away from my closest edge to him. And I kind of baited him out with the Dewbacks because he was clearly just going to run up there because they all had comms jammers. Thank goodness for the Ha. Thank goodness for the Ha and Kalani. I got aims on 2 of my B2s, and I got aims on my Magnus turn 1. And so turn 1 was just a move shoot into his Dewbacks that moved up. I took a Dewback and a half off in turn 1.
Oh, dang.
And then I won the pip roll off for turn 2, and I killed the other Dewbacks before they could get in. No, the one Dewback did make it in, but he only killed 1 B2. And then the Magnus moved in and finished it. So by the end of turn 2, he was down 3 activations, and from there it was a hard crawl
That
back.
was just a slugfest.
Mm-hmm. And the Ion Spider, which hadn't done much in either of the games, I was able to bait his ATST into turning. He pivoted and shot, and then as soon as he did that, I was like, "Oh no, Ion Spider, go 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 go!" And I was able to force through 1 Ion, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when the ATST is pivoted facing one half of the board, that means you have the other half of the board that just
Run!
Yeah, you're like, everybody get out of the arc! And so I did. I was like, okay, half of you hide behind this one building. The ATSD can't see you over. The rest of you just get out of arc. But getting out of arc also meant I was able to force, weak side shots and impact shots. So that one ended up being a really, I'll be honest, my B2s rolled real hot. So I got everything but 1 unit of snows. And then comes the last game I played, which was against the one and only Swivern, Marshall Abbott himself. And that was a sweaty game. Holy
Boss
crap.
music was playing loud for that one.
I don't know if you've ever played Dark Souls, but this felt like Bloodborne when you first turned Bloodborne on. I was sweating bullets. It was funny. Before the announcements go, Marshall's like, well, you're 2-0, I'm 2-0. I guess that means you and I will have to play. And I kind of laughed. I was like, I really hope not. And then the announcements came.
Yeah, because at that point, there were 4 people that were 2-0. And I was like, they could play. I thought you wouldn't because of how the tables were set up.
Yeah.
I was like, you guys, like, you won't get matched just because you don't play on the same tables. But then the results, like, I hit randomize, generate the matches, and there they were.
Bada bing, bada boom.
I'm like, huh, all right then.
Yeah, and oh my gosh, so Marshall is an amazing player. Like, he's got it calculated. He was sweating too, but I could tell in his head, like, the cogs were turning, and he just is thinking on a whole other plane of existence. We ended up getting hostage exchange, but he was running a mall list with Kalani and one set of B2s and a set of Magnus. So, walking up to the table, I was thinking to myself, well, this isn't too terrible. Double Magnus versus what he's got shouldn't be too bad. But he had table side edge, so that I think that was a really big thing for him. But it was a hard fought game. In the end, Maul ended up pulling it out because force push shenanigans on a hostage is just
Seems good.
It's really good. He never ended up getting to kill the hostage taker. No, he did finally get the hostage taker dead, like by turn 5, I think. But by that point, like the push mechanics, he just pushed him way too far back, and it was.
Not with speed 1, you couldn't get back.
Yeah, speed 1 a ton. If you get moved backwards a speed 1 for every speed 1 you move forward, you're not getting any ground. And as much as I threw dice at his hostage taker, I just couldn't get it dead. So he ended up getting away with it, getting a 2-0, which forced me out of the top 4. But by that point, I was like, you know what? That game was so calculated with every decision being made. I felt like that was the best game of Legion I had ever played. But, sometimes you can make no mistakes and still lose.
Yeah. And it was because you got 0 points in that last one that you were out of top 4.
Yeah.
Like, if you had just held on to your hostage or just gotten a point, or if you'd played any other scenario.
Because what happened with the hostage is he jumped onto a building with Maul, and then the B2s blasted it off. By that point, it was like, okay, so now I have to clamber and get the hostage. But Maul's balls, which had just stayed conspicuously just outside of shooting range the entire game, took a move up and picked up the hostage. And so I had one opportunity to shoot them down. And I rolled with the B2s. I only rolled like 3 hits. And he saved none except 1. And so he got away on just the 1 leader. And at that point, we were like, okay, that's game. Because you can just fly away at that point. But man, that was... You forget that the game's not always about killing until you play stuff like that.
Yeah, MOV is definitely, you have to get the victory points.
You do.
Nothing is worse than just getting no victory points.
Yeah.
Like, that just kills your score. It helps your opponent so much. And for anyone who, like, doesn't know how MOV works, it's, like, say for key positions, like, most games end up going 2-1, right? How you would calculate that is there's a total of 3 points, and you divide 2 into 3, so 0.66, and then 0.33 for the opponent. So by getting 0 points to 2, there's a total of 2 points available. Marshall got 100%, and Matt got 0. Because then you take your MOV for all 3 games, add it all up, divide by 3.
Your average is really... It hurts your average a ton to get that 0, which I think is such... because the one thing I noticed about all of Marshall's games, I think he is the better player out of everybody there. I think if there was a 4th round, he takes it.
I don't know if easily, but I'm definitely putting money on him.
That's how, yeah, it would definitely be an interesting game to watch, but there are some objectives, and I think a lot of people who are newer don't quite understand it, that there are some objectives that it's easier to smooth out the MOVs, like intercept. Intercept is the biggest example. I have had games where I've blown out my opponent on intercept points. In fact, like, I think the first game I ever played at a tournament, we ended up doing like he forgot to get his intercept points, so it was like 2 to like 12 or something. It's
Oh,
crazy.
whoops.
Yeah, it was a lot. But
But it's still not 100%.
yeah, it's still not 100%. But then like payload, especially payload and hostage exchange, it gets to be very like tit for tat. Like
The other crazy one for MOV
it's
is
always by one.
evaporators.
Yeah.
Because you're basically, you both get 50-50 because you're both scoring 8 points and it's just coming down to kill points. So that's really good for MOV because you're like, well, I got 0.5 because we tied, and then victory just goes down to whoever just blew each other up.
Yeah, it's man, VAPS is such an interesting one too. I've heard a lot of controversial takes about VAPS. A lot of people think it should be like banned or restricted or put aside because it does heavily favor blue player. But based off of this tournament, I'll just say this. I won every game where I got red player and got a choose table side. I lost the one game where I didn't get a choose table side. And I think that game came down to who had table side. Just because I think it was easier for him to get away.
Oh, because you
And for
heat.
me, I was in the open. So turn one, I took a massive shot from a B2 who was walking away. Wiped out half of a Magna Guard unit. Through heavy cover and windows. So there's some things that I think happen based off table side. I just like looking at the bids have changed so much. I think red player is now way more significant than blue. Easy.
I think there's finally an argument because I think blue has a place, but it's not the auto you have to build towards it like it was 4 months ago.
Agreed.
Okay. But other than that, like, so now that we've done that, we've kind of overviewed and everything, let's get into the top 8 lists.
Let's
'Cause
do this.
We've got them here, and they're cool. Okay, so for top 8, because remember, we had 16 players, 8 of them were Empire, so half the field was Empire. 5 droids, 2 rebels, 1 clone. So that's what our spread was. Top 8 ended up being 3 Empire, 3 droids, 1 rebel, 1 clone.
That's so wild, isn't it?
Like, it's a pretty good spread.
I'm not surprised by the Empire stuff. I am very surprised by the lack of Rebel stuff.
I mean, there were only 2. Like, we only had 2 to pull from, and 1 made it.
Historically, though, in our tournaments, it's always been like mostly Empire, next is Rebels.
Yeah,
But this time, everybody just went straight Empire.
and droids. But
And
I like
droids,
that Clone Wars isn't dominating as, like, the newer factions. Like, no, they're... Like, the math works out weird, but, like, there's good representation for everybody in the top 8. So, it went really well. So let's break these down. Let's start. What do you want to start with? Do you want to do it by faction? Do you want to do it by...
What was the top 4?
Top 4 was, we had first place with Mr. Will. He was droids. He was Maul and Cad Bane. That was his big thing. T-Series, Maul, Cad Bane. Yeah, this was our winner.
That was an interesting list. I've played this list before. Tons of fun. Like, if you can push the right objectives, it's crazy.
Yeah, 11 activations, full 800 points. By the way, that's worth mentioning right now. The biggest bid that we had in the entire tournament was 8 points. And then top 8 was 4 points. 4 points with Ethan. Yeah, 3, nothing. 3, yeah. 4 points was top 8 bid. But anyway, so Will, T-Series, Maul, Cad Bane, 6 B1s with 5 of them having heavy weapons and extra battle droids. Maul's balls and a strike team. A sniper strike team. So 11 activations. Yeah, that was first place.
Yeah. What I love about it is he showed up, and when I asked him about his list, he just said, I'm going to play nothing new today. And that kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, there's nothing from the Kashyyyk wave in there. Like, not even upgrades.
Yeah, literally nothing.
Yeah, force choke, force push, seize the initiative. Oh, he took seize.
I think you kind of have to with the different cards you have, because you're going to take Cad Bane's cards, you're going to take Maul's cards.
So on those
go.
Bane card turns, that's when you play seize.
Yeah.
That's a good... Yeah, and then Cad Bane is just kitted out. He's duck and cover, comms jammer, recon intel, electro gauntlets, and smoke grenades.
The smoke grenades, man.
I never saw him play the smoke grenades. I don't know if he ever did it, but I get why they're there.
Same. I mean, a part of me says they're not too terrible with the fact that you have native sharpshooter. Like, I'll take the cover, and I'll not give it to you.
I guess it's also like, where else would you spend 3 points?
Especially if you're trying to bid for red player, which
Yeah.
seems like most people were. What's interesting about this list is having 800 points. I feel like that's a list where I kind of want to have the initiative. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be blue player a little bit so that I can force like boxes and stuff. Because this is a list that when I've played it, boxes is like your thing. Because with Maul, the probe droids, Cad Bane, and the sniper strike team, you basically start on 3 out of 5 boxes.
Yeah.
Because you get your 2, and then you have Cad Bane start on the middle, or Maul start on the middle. And then
Well,
you kind
Bane
of
can
just
start wherever, on
Yeah.
whatever box, and just be
Yeah.
like, here I am.
Exactly.
I reveal my token.
And you can just put your tokens out there and kind of play the where am I game. So really, you have the super advantage on there. And I know during one of his games, he was able to force boxes.
And he got all 5, yeah.
He got all 5, which is just crazy.
Yeah, because he's got recover supplies, key positions, intercept transmission, and payload. So very skewed towards his if he has to be blue player.
Very, very much so.
So that was our winner. That was first place. Second place was Marshall. By the way, he won, like, the difference was like 0.2 in their MOV.
Which is crazy. That's
Yeah,
that's so close.
That's like a point somewhere in the tournament. Because, I mean, that was the difference.
That really that's like just under an intercept point kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But second place, Marshall, also 800 points out of 800 points, 10 activations. You already went over this list. You just did. Kalani, Maul, B2, 4 B1s. No, 5 B1s. 4 of them having heavy weapons, Maul's balls, and a Magna Guard with the rocket launcher. So, we already kind of touched on this, so we're not going to go over it again. But yeah, same kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a good all-rounder. Good old droid list.
Another 800-point list. Yeah. So no bid for that one either. Third place. This one was nuts, and I loved it. I'm totally not biased
This is a list
whatsoever.
after Josh's heart.
Third place was Ian. He was our only clone player. And he showed up. I'll be honest, when I saw the list, I was like, yeah, you do you. You have fun.
Yeah.
I was like, this isn't how I'd play it, but whatever. It's all good. He played Anakin Double Beam ISP.
Like,
And I'm like, what? Yeah. I'm like, I'm so proud that you took this. I'm so glad he got practice games in because he thought the cannon didn't have its dice pool on the gunslinger.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, no, you need to take the beam on these. And he's like, oh, okay, I got it. And he did. And oh my gosh, he took third. It was amazing. 787 points. He's got, what was this, 9 activations? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? No way. It's not 7.
Oh, because he just maxed out his, yeah, it would be that.
No, it's 8.
Yeah.
It's 8 points. Oh, the ATRT. Okay, so yeah, so he's got Anakin, Chewbacca, and his 2 commanders, 3 naked phase 1s, an ATRT, and 2 infantry support platforms with twin beams. Like, that's it. It's 8 activations. He took third. Like, this was nuts. It was fun to watch his games. He's such a good player.
He is a very good player.
Like, I'm scared to play him in, like, 6 months once he gets all the little nuances of Legion down. Because he comes from 40K. And I can clearly tell he was really good at 40K.
Yeah, and what I love about it is he's somebody where the store he was playing at, the group kind of split and went to other shops. So he kind of got stuck in the middle. So he said he hadn't played in like 6 or 7 months. And he's only played like 3 or 4 games before this tournament back. And he did a great job.
Yeah, every week he shows up and I'm like, you're getting big.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting scarier and scarier. It's like watching like a little dragon grow. It's like, that's a bad example.
It's like
but
an anime power-up kind of thing, like a
Yeah.
montage. It really is. Yeah.
a 30-second power montage, yeah.
Well, it's great. What I love about the list is it's got 4 really big threats, to be completely honest. Like, the Chewie and Anakin are threatening. I like the idea of Chewie with Anakin because every time I play Anakin, it's one or two things. He either gets in there and he is just this powerhouse. He's like Vader. He just goes crazy. Or he's trying to get there and he just can't make it and he dies.
Yep.
But I like Chewie kind of being like, no, this is technically a 15 health Anakin. Potentially.
Basically.
I do like that.
Because he did run Chewie with Anakin. I did watch that throughout all of his games. He clearly had that game plan, and it worked.
I like that a lot.
Because, by the way, Chewie has tenacity, protector, and emergency stims.
That's interesting for Guardian. So you just Guardian the E-stims.
It's an extra 2 wounds for Guardian. Because he only has Guardian 2.
He doesn't have regenerate, though, like Bosk does,
Nope.
right? So for him, once he does it, he's just regenerating, he's just E-stimming for the extra Guardian, and then he's dead.
Yeah. He's like, I'm done, but I'm taking 2 more with me.
I like that. Well, I don't know actually how I feel about that.
I mean, that was 8 points, so that's a lot.
Yeah, because do you remember the old days with E-stims, like on Commander Luke and
Yes.
stuff? That used to be like the way to do it.
Ugh.
E-stims is this one that I'm always like, people bring it up, and they play it in random lists, and it kind of works. But I think the fact that we're not seeing it on top tables might be because it's just, I don't know. There's not effective ways right now to. I think E-stims. I'll just put it this way. I think E-stims would have been better if the buses hadn't been nerfed. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because then you could E-stims, and the bus heals you before anything crazy needs to happen.
Yeah, because having Rebel Troopers with the heal bot is real bad.
You just don't want the points there.
Well, you just don't want Rebel Troopers that close.
Exactly.
Like, that's bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, so.
Yeah.
By the way, Will and Marshall both went 3-0. We're now getting into people who went 2-1. Because Will and Marshall were the only ones that went 3-0 at the end of the day. Yeah. The other crazy thing that I want to point out with Ian, and this is total props and shout outs to him, his first game was against Marshall.
Yeah.
And he didn't realize how bad limited Viz was for ISPs. So he's like, yeah, I'll just go and he zoomed his ISPs right up into the middle of the table against Marshall, and Marshall's like, all right, cool, thanks, and blew him off. But watching his next 2 games, he immediately learned that, and he's like, oh, this is how I played the beams. And then he won his next 2 games.
I kind of want to piggyback off that with this one thought that, like, anybody who did take a loss in the top 8 only lost to other people in the top 8.
Oh, yeah.
That was something that I thought was super interesting. There was this clear divide of, like, the top 8 and the not top 8. And I think there's some reasons for that. I don't think it comes down to player skill completely. I think some of it comes down to lists and stuff. I don't know. It's an interesting thing that I saw where there was this kind of circle of, like, I beat so-and-so, but so-and-so beat so-and-so, but so-and-so also beat so-and-so. So where do we land? Where do we stand on that? It was a very interesting day.
I mean, and the third round, for me, was super fun to watch because there were 6 tables where I'm like, depending on who wins, that's who determines who's top 8.
Yeah.
Like, your third game mattered a lot.
That was something I did hear a ton, was people being like, oh, man, I won my first game, but I lost my second. I want those extra prizes, so I want that top 8. I gotta win this next game.
Yeah, that third game was important to literally everybody. So, like, that was really fun to see. The whole day was just always, people were fighting the whole day.
It was a great time. This 4th place person, though, my goodness, this is the legend.
I want to let you talk about this.
Okay, I'm going to talk about this list because this is the person who is the bane of my existence right now. I say that in a joking way. This is the person I cannot beat no matter what I do. And it's just crazy. So this is Tiffany's list with her 9 activation rebels. And this is her pretty common rebel list. There is one change that she brought, which I think is pretty cool. So she's running Han Solo with Duck and Cover, Chewie with Tenacity, Sabine with the personal combat shield, the saber, and Clan Ren, like she always does. That's like her core of her list. I don't think I've ever seen her show up without those 4.
I've seen her do it like twice. Those are the only 2 times when I've seen Tiffany get stomped.
Which is funny because every other time it's like you cannot touch those 4. Like those, I don't know what it is about those 4 characters, but they just work for her, man. Mm-hmm. They are like in her hands, they are gold.
Which, by the way, like when we say that this is what she plays, like she has fun with this, and she's like, "Oh, I want to play other people, but like I know how to play these." And she's been playing these since like August. Like it's been forever, so she knows how these list units are run.
Dude, right? Like, and she's very good at it. Like she knows the game plan. She knows what she wants to do.
She knows where to hide, where to move, when to go out, when to stay.
What the right?
It's fun to watch her play.
It really is.
And then just watching your dice is always super fun too, because I'm like, yep, there it is.
I've never seen hotter white defensive saves.
Chewie took 6 wounds. I'll say 5. It's like, what?
Yeah.
You're in the open.
That's so
it's like, yeah,
great.
whatever. I rolled 5 blocks.
I can't remember, but I don't think Chewie even surges defense.
No,
I
he
think
doesn't.
He's just
He's
like
just a
droid
Wookiee.
saves.
Yeah,
It's
9
so
wounds.
funny.
No, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's why I love seeing where Tiffany does, because she's very good at what she does, but she's also like the wall. Either you get over the wall or you just hit it really hard and you die. You either get tabled or you table.
Tiffany
it's
is
so
a white
great.
defense die, basically.
It's so great watching. So how did she switch up the list this time? She ran an airspeeder with the hotshot pilot, the ground buzzer, because it's free, you better take it. 2 groups of veterans, one's with the CMO, one without it, and then a Mark II blaster. This is a super interesting list. It's a very hard-hitting list.
It's so funny because
a
I
lot
look
of
at that
dice.
list, and if I saw someone, like if I didn't know who was running that list and I saw it, I'd be like, yeah, I can take that list. Like what am I afraid of? Sabine and Han? Like, man, the T-34? Like, that's pretty much all I'd be scared of. And then I find out Tiffany's running and be like, okay, hold on, we got to rethink
Good
this.
game.
Like,
The past 2 tournaments, she's been my first person to play against up until this one. And it's been like tablings, just pure tablings. And I was playing Empire both times with lots of dice, but just pure
lots of
tables.
red dice.
Lots of red dice.
Like, lots of surging red dice.
Yeah.
I remember watching that. There was frustration on that table on one side of the table only, and it was not Tiffany's.
Yeah, man, her games were kind of exactly the same way this time. It was super fun to watch. One thing I will say is I think with this list there's a lot of subtle things that I think are still really good that people forget about. Like Han Solo with Steady. I haven't seen a ton of people try that out yet. That is...
Pretty sure that's changing here pretty quick.
It better be. I mean, he's dropping 4 models a turn, like guaranteed. Just it's very stupid. And the fact he can hide afterwards and he gets cover 3 basically because of the low profile changes. And Sabine, in my opinion, she's never been bad. I get for some lists she hasn't always fit in the best, but if Explosions gets off and Explosions is able to do what it does, your droids are getting wrecked. Your clones are getting wrecked as well.
You're losing a model or 2.
You really are.
Like, Explosions is really good, and Tiffany knows how to run it.
She does.
Like, we've been saying that for like 4 episodes now, and it's like,
It's
here's
so-
the proof. She got
so-
top 4.
It's so scary. Yeah, she did very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so after that, 5th place, we have... Okay, so that was top 4. We had 2 droids, a clone, and a rebel. Top 4, we then had Matt with his list. So that was another droid list.
Yeah, we
So,
went over my list.
Yeah, we already did that. Which, by the way, all the droids all took the full 800 points. All 3 of them. For top 8.
I thought that was interesting. So, and the other droid players had like 1 point bids.
No, it was 799 and 792. And that was the 8-point
yeah.
bid was the
Yeah.
13 activation, like, stat list.
Which is crazy because at that point you're like, I guess
That's
I'll
still
take
not a bad
body.
list. Like,
No.
oof.
It's still a lot. So 6th place we had Ethan.
You
who-
got 6th place.
Oh, I took 6th. Yeah.
Yeah, Ethan took 5th.
Oh, Ethan took 5th. Yeah, his list. I actually played him 2nd round. He was the ATSD triple dewback list, which, man, dewbacks. We'll get into this after, but man, I think dewbacks might be the meta easily.
We're going to talk about that here in a second. It's definitely going to be brought up.
But yeah, what were the other 2 lists we had? Real quick.
Triple dewbacks.
Another triple dewbacks.
And for 8th place, triple dewbacks. Yeah, that was a lot faster than I thought it was going to be.
Oh, there we go.
But yeah, so all 3 top Empire players, triple dewbacks.
And 2 of them were Vader triple dewbacks, right? Mm-hmm. Just
Which those 2 players played in round 2. That was a fun game to watch.
I couldn't imagine watching those 2 players because it was the mirror match, right?
Yeah, Mark and Steven. Okay, hold on. So let's go over these lists really quick. We'll go over Ethan's list here. Let's do Ethan's list first, and then we'll go over this.
I think
Because Ethan is Weiss with a fully kitted out ATSD. 3 dewbacks with 1 had a flamer, 2 had T-21s. They all had tenacity and they all had comms jammer. I think that's right. Yeah, you only had one flamer.
that's right.
Yeah, the flamer is always in the front.
Yeah, because I remember I was not letting that thing get my droids. Yeah.
You had 2 Scout Trooper strike teams with O Push. You had a fully kitted out Death Trooper squad with a DLT, O Push, Recon Intel, and then just 3 Naked Shore Troopers.
Snow Troopers, yeah.
Snow Troopers, right. Yeah, so I mean, solid. Like, because I watched him in the 3rd round, he finally got that comms jammer to go off, and it just wrecked the droids. Like, they weren't getting orders, so the ones that were in combat had to attack first. They couldn't withdraw, so the dewback was just sitting there munching.
Ugh.
And it was only one dewback that got in. Like, Joe, who he ended up playing, like, he killed 2 of them. He just couldn't finish off that 3rd one. And it got in, and it's like, this sucks. Because now the rest of his army wasn't getting orders too, because he was turtling as droids. And the closest unit was the ATST sitting in the middle of the board.
No.
So it's like, I'm taking unaimed shots at an ATST as B1s.
Like, that's...
It was like, I saw what was going on. I was like, that's a bummer.
Right? Oh, man.
It's like one got in.
Jeez,
that's all it took.
I feel like that's always the problem with the dewbacks, is you see them coming, and you're like, I don't want to take care of you.
But I have to. I can't not take care of you.
Yeah. That's what I think is so powerful about it. I mean, and then Vader is right behind, always. In this case, it's not Vader, it's an ATST, so you're like...
Same thing, just at a farther range.
You're still taking a big amount of dice. Yeah, it's crazy, man. I think this list... So I played this list... I played against it twice before the tournament, and man, it is a scary list. It is a very scary list.
Ethan prepped a lot around here, too. He really stepped his game up for this. But yeah, that was 5th place. Matt got 6th. And then 7th and 8th was Steven and Mark. And they were basically your mirror matches. We're going to go through this. They both had Op Vader. They both had Force Push. Oh, okay. So Mark had Force Choke, Force Push, and Tenacity. Steven had Push, Saber Throw, and Tenacity. So one took Choke, one took Saber Throw.
That's an important difference, but also...
That also comes down to
not
player
too
preference.
Yeah.
They both had an Imperial Officer. They both had 3 dewbacks. Tenacity, T-21 blasters. Yeah, those are all the same.
And then
one dewback had HQ uplinks for Steven. But other than that, they're the same.
And then I think they both had double IRG, right?
No, one had
of them
IRG.
did.
One had double IRG. Mark took double IRGs. And Steven filled out Stormtroopers. So Mark took 3 just naked Stormtroopers just to fill out points. Steven filled out his Stormtroopers with like T-21s, the Specialists. One had a Captain, the RT-97. So yeah, so he went Stormtroopers, dewbacks, Vader.
Line and stuff.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I don't want to play against either of these lists.
I don't either.
They really don't.
But yeah, okay, so to the second game. Oh my gosh, this was the funnest thing to watch. Because it was these two. They had Major Offensive, Intercept the Transmissions, and Limited Viz.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun to watch. It was great.
Couldn't have asked for a more perfect day.
Like, it
for
was
both of the lists.
so awesome because the first 2 turns were them just like, you go, no, you go, no, you go, no, you go. And it was just so little micromanaging things. And I remember watching Vader had charged up, let's see here, Mark's Vader, the IRG Vader. Put a roll card. Yeah, I got that right. Okay. Yeah, the IRG Vader ran up and got into combat with the dewback. So then Steven's Vader went after, came up, saber throw against IRGs, killed 2 of them, whatever, but then pushed Vader out of combat in front of all of his stormtroopers.
Oh.
Yeah, so Vader went down for Mark, but all of Steven's dewbacks died.
Oh man, that's like the trade. It's such a sacrifice.
It was so much fun to watch. It was a nail biter. Okay, hold on. I remember how this ended too. So it was turn 6, right? So like there was 5 minutes left on the clock. They were on turn 6. I was like, guys, just finish your turn. I want to watch this.
Yep.
What came down to was Vader had so Steven's Vader, we're gonna
the Stormtrooper Vader.
Yeah, we're gonna do Trooper Vader and IRG Vader. Like that's how we're gonna differentiate the two. So Stormtrooper Vader had cleared off the far end, and he had claimed up he claimed that intercept, right? So he was the only one that was over there. In the middle, there was an IRG and a naked stormtrooper just sitting in like heavy cover. And on the other end, there was like a weakened stormtrooper unit, the officer, and a dewback. So that's where it was sitting. So IRG Vader moved his stormtroopers, like double moved him out, and got close enough to the other objective. So Storm Vader then went, okay, well, I'm going to move into the middle to contest the middle. So now it's IRGs and stormtroopers in the middle. IRG ran out with one guy, got both his hits on his charge, and he failed both his saves. So IRG is sitting in the middle. No. So it's Vader on the one, like Storm Vader on the one, IRG in the middle, and now it's a stormtrooper and officer and a dewback on one wound and like a naked stormtrooper unit, like a full 4-man naked stormtrooper on the other one. So he like, and because Royal Guard had just gone, it was now Storm Vader's turn. He rolled, like he aimed, rolled, got the crit.
With the stormtroopers.
With the stormtrooper. Didn't have to use the aim. And the dewback saved. It's like, no!
On one wound.
Uh-huh. So the dewback went, chomped the
eats the troopers.
Eats the trooper, dodges, right? So he's like, well, I still have an officer. Aim and shoot.
Need the crit.
Got 2 crits. So couldn't use the dodge. Oh, no, it was crit and hit. So use the dodge, whatever. It doesn't matter because armor
1.
Failed the save on the dewback.
Oh.
So it was
Heartbreaker.
Naked Storm and Officer contesting one, IRG in the middle, and Vader on the end. It was 5-4 because IRG had scored the first round. He won by 1 point. It was amazing. It was so much fun to watch.
That is a nail biter, and that, oh man, Vader. I keep going over my mind how amazing Vader is. Like after playing against Maul with, against Marshall with Maul, I just kept coming back to this idea, like, man, well, Vader also is Vader's might.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy. I mean, I can't imagine playing against either of those lists. It's just insane.
By the way, there were no Commander Vaders. It was all Operative Vaders. There were 4 Operative Vaders, or 3? 3 or 4. 2 got into top. Yeah. There was a total of 9 dewbacks and 6 ATSTs running around those tables.
Because there was 2 double ATST lists.
2 double ATST lists, yep.
That's just insane. And then there was an ATST Gav list as well.
Yes. That was from Logan, which, by the way, I want to shout out to him because he came in and he's like, yeah, I just came because I saw the prizes and I wanted the alt-art card. He's like, I'm not expecting to do anything. I've only played 5 games before the tournament. He did really well. I think he got 9th place. And he lost to Will, the first place player. Like, that was one of his losses.
He did a good job.
Yeah, he did really good.
I was highly surprised by everybody. Like, not that I wasn't expecting tough competition, but you always think the competition will be tough. Yeah.
People came to play.
People came, and they were just... The funny thing was listening to people afterwards talking about how they felt bad that they had to deny their opponents victory points. Because most of the time when you know the game's over, you just go to kills and you say, okay, you done. But people were like...
I need the points.
Knowing they had to be cutthroat for the MOV. And so they're like, I'm sorry, I can't let you have this intercept point. You can't have this KP because I can deny you. So
and I have
and I want you to make sure I get the MOV.
And that changed,
which I loved seeing.
The MOV didn't change much. The biggest one was definitely first and second. And that was also like, oh, we could totally do a round 4 and like let that like be an official
Playoff
first
round.
Place. But we were all tired.
Everybody decided they didn't want to. Yeah.
But kind of like watching the difference between like 6th and 8th was MOV. Like, MOV didn't play a huge role in it, but that definitely determined your exact position.
Well, and they were all close MOVs for some of them, too.
They were really close.
Some of them
it was
were
like... Because you missed out on 5th by like 0.15 or something like that. It was because you got 0 in your last game.
It's because of that bad one against Marshall, yeah.
Yeah. It was specifically because you got 0 in your last game that you missed out on top 4.
Well, then the Marshall and Will edging him out by just a little bit because he just you got to think about it, that game where he got all the boxes, like that extra box got it for him.
Yep.
Like
denying not even him getting the extra box, because it doesn't matter if he gets 4 boxes or 5 boxes. It's he denied his opponent from getting any boxes. So he took the full 100% for the MOV.
What I think is so interesting about this is this highlights something I think we've all known deep down. A lot of people look at Legion as just I'm just going to shoot dice kind of a game,
which is fun.
Which is very fun, but the game is closer to MCP, Marvel Crisis Protocol, in the end, where really your dice are just a tool to accomplish the objective.
Yeah. Which is funny because I did that because we announced it as an MOV tournament.
Yeah.
But I had set up TTO, or Tabletop TO.
Yeah.
I hate acronyms. But I had set it up and I was recording it the same way, and I had set it up using the Strength of Schedule one. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but I did go through everything. Marshall ended up winning with Strength of Schedule with Will right behind him. Basically flipped. And I don't remember who got... Ian did not get third. I think you got fourth. I don't remember exactly what it was because I was we didn't advertise as Strength of Schedule.
Because we were running it as a MOV tournament,
but it was cool to see it that way because I'm people didn't switch a bunch of spots. I think Ethan took third in that case. No, it was Mark, because Mark played Will in the last round. Mark took third, I think. I don't remember.
It was... All I know is the top 8 had just flip-flops.
Yeah, it was
because
just
then we plugged it in after and took a look afterwards.
Yeah, because how it ended up working was top 8 was everyone that went 2 and 1.
Yeah.
So top 8 didn't change; it just kind of flipped where people were. And the only one I really remember is Marshall and Will flipped because of just whichever one we were running as. But because we announced it as MOV, I was nope.
This is how we're doing it.
Yeah.
Because we're already kind of taking a lot of time, I want to kind of hop into hot takes because
we have them.
We have many hot takes because this is for me this is kind of my first view at everything post RRG, post nerfs, post new stuff,
post
Kashyyyk wave. So there's a lot to think about with it all. And I will say, Josh, what do you think were some of the archetypes that stand out as far as lists go, as far as performance-wise? Because I think we both predicted there would be a lot of Empire just because
that's just our local.
Yeah, they have so many. Well, they also have so many options, and I think we did. But I think the Empire lists, there was always a lot of lists to look at. I was not surprised to see Vader dewbacks.
Not at all.
But I think that was also a very obvious opinion.
The thing that I noticed a lot was there were only 8 lists that had armor.
Yeah.
And I'm not counting the dewbacks and I'm not counting B2s because yes, technically they're armor, but I'm counting vehicle units with armor.
Yeah, not armor X, straight up armor.
Yeah, and 2 of those lists had a single droid or a single spider tank. So there were really only 6 with dedicated armor.
Yeah, I mean,
which is a huge drop from what we've seen before.
Yeah, we were talking before the tournament when I was coming up with those lists about what I should run, and you suggested triple spiders. I'm happy I didn't run the triple spider lists because I don't think they would have performed as well.
Nope.
But also, man, the troopers are just really strong right now.
We're shifting into more troopers. I'm really excited to see LVO.
Same.
I'm okay, let's show me more than top 4. Show me top 8.
There's a lot of coordinated gun line lists out there going on. You know what I mean? Not necessarily I'm just going to sit back and Rexstar you, but a lot of specialized gun lines. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of I have a lot of dice in my core troopers, and I'm just going to shoot you at the right moment before you can get to melee. The kind of army that is set up to counter a melee list without using armor, and I kind of like that. I really do. One thing that I think is interesting, and you brought this up to me before, is that double heavies didn't perform well. And there were quite a few double heavy lists.
Except for the ISPs. Just throwing that out there. I will continue to throw that out there.
Except the Beam ISPs, which, man, they are so good.
I think it's been funny to watch online, too, as the ISPs get played more. People are they're doing good? It's yeah, they are.
Yes.
Specifically the Beam one. The other 2 I still think are garbage. But yeah, the beam, it's good.
When you can get off 3 beam attacks, technically more if you have exemplar and standby stuff. Dude, those beam attacks are crazy. Mm-hmm. They're really ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm aware.
I know I lost to those lists like 5 times in a row. They're crazy.
I love that list so much.
What do you think about double heavies not doing very well? Like, why do you think that is?
I think it's because of the shift to troopers. It's kind of what happened right when Legion first came out. Because when Legion came out, it was the core box, and then the ATST, and the T-47, and that was basically it. Like, there was one of everything except for Special Forces. We didn't even know operatives were a thing. Like, nobody knew what an operative was until Boba Fett got announced. Like,
it was like a new token for most people.
Yeah. Like, it wasn't even, like, the very first learn to plays didn't even have that listed as a thing. Operative, we didn't know what an operative was. And I remember a lot of people were like, they were blown away by how cool the ATST is because it's a big model, it's very recognizable, and it is cool. But people were running like, oh, I'm running 2 Invader and then like 3 troopers because that's all I could with the points back then.
Yeah.
Plus, it was also cheap. You only had to buy a core box and 2 model and 2 kits.
Yeah, that's 800 points.
Yeah.
Just about.
So people did that, but they kept losing because they couldn't kill all of the trooper units for someone who was like, I'm bringing troopers. And this was back when it was breakthrough, intercept, key positions, and
like the objective's super
boxes.
Skewed towards troopers.
Yeah, 2 of those are
Super
specifically only trooper unit leaders. Key positions and breakthrough are any unit leader. But you're not doing breakthrough with Vader double ATSD. Mm-hmm. I think we're kind of going back in that direction where trooper unit leaders are more important than big dice pools.
Agreed. It's interesting. I feel like this is just the natural state of things, but I completely agree because like I feel like we're having what happened to shore troopers with the Tauntauns. How when all that came out, it was like, well, Empire seems really good. Snipers are really good. Oh no, we have creature troopers in our backlines, and I feel that same way, but except this time it's the dewbacks. Because the one thing that I was noticing a ton during the tournament was my Magna Guards, and even for like everybody else's IRGs, lose dice as they take wounds. Mm-hmm. The dewbacks, and you got to get that model off the table. Like if that's not off the table, they don't deteriorate. They don't slow down. They don't break.
Which is what made armor good.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like, yeah, whatever. I break at 5, but depending on what the dice rolls,
still throwing a ton of dice.
Yeah, it's like I could have 2 actions to move on my ATRT that's got a cannon, and I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah,
or my ATST, it's like, I'm not moving anyway.
And by the time you take those wounds, like, you're already in position, so, like, whatever.
Yeah, if you do that to a saber tank, it's like, oh no.
Yeah, what do you think about the whole idea of armor just being really hard to run as double armor? Because I kind of found that a little bit, where sometimes the armor was facing there's like a degree or 2 off, and it couldn't get the shots it needed, or if it whiffed on a shot, sometimes that just meant that was all your dice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think a big part of it is the lists just really require a lot to be put into those 2 pieces. You know, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Because I think, especially with, like, double heavies, is you can't get enough support to make up, because you only have 2 units. They only shoot once a turn. You're getting a total of 12 shots. That's half their activation or their actions that they must do. Like, there's not enough support to really support 2 heavies. Saying that, though, the obvious example or counter to this is the Yoda saber tank list, because you can get so much support into that, but that's only a single heavy anyway.
It is. It's also a single heavy that throws the most impact and most critical out of all heavies. So,
and it's the most survivable of all heavies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really is. It beats out AATs, beats out ATSTs because it can use surge tokens and throws red dice.
It also gets to use dodges to just cancel your crits.
Yeah.
So it's a really impact is the only thing that can even work against it.
Lots, like high number of impact, which is hard to come by unless you're running trooper units, which kind of just like It's so funny because, like, it's just a circle, and it doesn't take much to push things the way they did. Because if you think about it, armor came in because of the truck. Because the truck finally said, I can now bring my Wookiees and just, okay, now I have Wookiees, and they're a full unit, and I didn't lose anybody on the way in, because you can't kill the truck. Now it's Magna Guard, I think, are the reason why we're pushing so much towards trooper units. I don't know if that's the exact reason, but that's the only thing that I consistently see being taken, and we are being pushed into a trooper heavy.
We're going to push like back into like kind of a little bit of a gun line, which is interesting. I don't even know how to put it.
It's like gunline and rushdown, because if you took dewbacks in this tournament, you made top 8.
Like auto top 8. They were just that good. Like
that doesn't mean the players were bad. Like, I'm just throwing that out there, but it is fun to see that if you took dewbacks, you made top 8.
Agreed. Like that's kind of what I meant earlier. Like I don't want to offend anybody. I hope nobody takes it bad, because I don't think anybody played bad, but this is where I think this tournament showed that some lists have more legs than others, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
In Melee, what I thought was interesting was that there was no Wookiees. I thought for sure we would be seeing Wookiees.
We only saw Chewbacca.
Only in Chewbacca. That was
and
it.
And he got 3rd.
I would have really liked to see what Rebel Wookiees could do, but I think when you compare Rebel Wookiees to the dewbacks just have the edge there, right? I mean, they have red dice, so
their pools don't deteriorate.
Their backer, the guy who's pushing them, is Vader and double IRGs. And I think people forget Vader's might is sometimes when that card first came out, I remember people like, oh, this is really cool. And then it took a couple months for people to figure out what's so strong. You can throw a dewback into Melee with Vader's might. You can just pick it up and be like, boom, you're there.
The other big thing I did see, the big swing turns for Vader dewback lists were the new ways to motivate them.
Perfect.
That was the swing turn for most of those that I saw. Like when I was walking around, I was like, "That's your new ways to motivate them turn."
Yep. I like the new ways to motivate them terms that people are doing with like one HQ uplink on a dewback, because then you just issue your orders to all 3 dewbacks, and they're all 3 going to make it in.
Yeah, because that's what Steven did.
It's crazy.
Was it Steven or Mark?
One of the two. I think it was Steven. Yeah, because
Steven took the HQ uplink.
Yeah, because he had it with the stormtroopers. Yeah, which is just. It's insane to think about it. I think also, like, the big thing with Melee, like, if you run one Jedi, 1 or 2 turns of focus fire will kill your Jedi, right? But 1 or 2 turns of focus fire usually will not kill your whole rushdown list. I got super lucky against Ethan to be able to kill those dewbacks. To be fair, his saves were on curve. The problem was that my attack dice were just
Plus, you
ridiculous.
Didn't have a Vader to worry about, too, on top of that.
Mm-hmm. I didn't.
Like, if there was a Vader putting pressure on you, I don't know how you would have done.
I don't think I would have done well. Because, like, one dewback did make it in. It died right away because the Magnas were able to intercept it, but if there was a Vader right behind that, like...
There's more than just one B2 unit going down.
You're losing some stuff. And you're just getting tied up, and things are getting thrown out of cover for the ATSD to shoot, or for other things to shoot.
Well, you wouldn't have the ATSD.
Yeah, but just for other things to shoot.
But then that ties you up so that you're out of position for the kill point scores.
Yep. And you're stuck where you are. You're not moving until Vader says you are.
Yeah, it's not you're going to the killer to the key position. You have to dig them out of the key position, which is hard.
And that force push is very strong at that. So those are just my thoughts on the double heavies, man. I just wanted to bring it up because it
was fun to watch, yeah.
Yeah, they're fun to see because there were so many ATSTs, and I think the points value going down on them was the right call because they're the perfect scary unit. Like, they look scary until you start playing against them, and I feel like I'm like, okay, I can handle this. But having them on the table, it's a scary thing to think, okay, I have to face this.
And it's not something you could ignore either.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just run out in the open and be like, yeah, whatever, it's an ATST. Because you did that with Anakin, and
yeah,
that did not work out well.
He had to do something. One thing I did find was interesting is I don't think any double ATSD lists lost both ATSDs, but they all definitely lost like one.
No, there was one game where both ATSDs died.
Oh, okay. Jeez, that's just such a feat to do. Like,
yeah, that's
you can get through
22 wounds
of armor too. That's minimum 22 crits.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. So I guess what are your other thoughts? Because like we've talked a lot about heavies, but I think there's a lot to talk about with this. What do you think about there being just like 2 Rebel players? Period. When the last tournament, the Rebels were a
Like
ton.
6 or something,
Yeah.
the second most represented.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was just this event.
Uh,
That's pretty much it. Like,
So what do you think? What was the reasoning? I guess. Do you think just people wanted to play Empire more? People just wanted to do something else? Do you think people were worried about the slight nerf to the bus?
oh yeah, because there were no buses.
Because that's what I'm saying. Is like
Our last tournament, there were 5 buses.
Rebels had more armor than any other faction.
Right.
More than AATs, more than anything else. So that's what I'm wondering, because like we can just say it was just this one tournament, but this was the tournament where I saw people being the most competitive around here. And when it came down to brass tacks, people decided Rebels were not the army they wanted to run
Yeah, even Marshall.
for competitiveness. Yep. Even the people at the top.
Marshall's
Tiffany
been
also
playing a ton of droids, though. He's been playing droids for the last 5 months.
This is true. I do feel like if he wanted to, he could just transition back into Rebels because he has that experience. But
I think just with how his
Yeah.
schedule was for the last 3 weeks, it's not something he could do overnight.
that's true. That's true.
That's kind of the other thing, is I think for this tournament, people brought what they were most comfortable with, and that's what they've been running for the last 3 months.
What about with the people that ran lists that just didn't use anything new, like Will?
That's what they're comfortable with.
I think there's a case to be made that some of those Rebel lists are similar. I don't know. I just think it's very weird that Rebels weren't taken. Like usually they represent a pretty good number, but I don't
With
know.
only being 2, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure what to think about it. That's why I bring it up, because
It's like, I'm pretty sure there might be something in there, but I also feel like we're kind of reading a little too deep on this.
that's what I'm wondering.
Because I think specifically for this one, because there was also a lot of people who have come in the past and have come to multiple of our events because of timing, because of the Masters mandate, because of whatever reason, like they didn't
Yeah.
show up. Like I can count 6 people right now who I'm like, oh, I thought you would be coming, and they didn't come.
Oh yeah, because family stuff come up
Yeah.
or whatever. It just couldn't make it. That is a good point.
I don't think any of them play Rebels, though, specifically. No, actually, I don't think any of them play Rebels.
I think most of them play Empire
or clones.
or droids. Oh yeah, one plays droids. Nolan with droids.
Jake's been playing a lot of clones. Skylar would have been Empire.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff.
Yeah, I think there's probably something in there, but I think there's also nothing in there. I think we could dissect it, but I don't think it's worth bringing up with just one event. We'll probably have to revisit this after the next one.
Yeah, I wonder, or maybe after LVO, because a part of me thinks it's just that Empire is just kind of looking like an open book a little bit. So, because like the fact that ATSTs are able to be run like that, and I'm surprised people still aren't playing with Krennic a lot in the local area, because I think Krennic is really spicy right now. I think there's some stuff to look at there.
I think just looking at this and kind of seeing like online, just like some of the other tournaments that have been going on the last month, like looking at lists and how things are composed, it's what you're good with. Because this was my very first hot take, and I'm going to keep saying it until I get enough data to prove me wrong. What you're comfortable with is more important than the good unit. Because there's not a bad unit. I still don't think there's a bad unit.
I will still argue that there are a couple
There's
really,
some
really
really
bad units.
struggling units. Yeah, like I will. Oh, the poor Gav. Like that's the one I'm going to. Gav, Rex,
Lat.
Lat.
Arc
For
troop-
both
Arc Troopers
factions.
now.
Yeah, ARC Troopers.
Oh, rip.
Yeah, there's some struggle units for sure, but like if you know how to run a thing, like if you know how to run Pathfinders, you're gonna catch someone off guard. But that's the thing, is that you have to put in the time to know how to run it. You can't just pick up a thing and be like, I'm picking up Death Troopers and I'm now amazing. It's like, that's not how that works. Is there a unit that is like, let's figure that out. Is there a super good unit?
Dewbacks. I think the biggest thing with Dewbacks is you just run. The only things you have to know is last first. Not even last first. You don't even have to. You can last with them. Just run with the dewbacks, right? There's not really a trick about them. You kind of get in there and you start doing your tricks once you're there. But that's what I'm wondering is because the fact that people did choose to play Empire and the majority chose Empire, and they clearly chose Empire heavies and Empire dewbacks
Support units.
Yeah,
because we didn't
not even support, just dewbacks.
Yeah, because there were no other support choices.
Yeah.
There were no E-webs. There was no bikes. It was just dewbacks.
Just dewbacks. I do think a lot of people online have talked about them, so it might just be the thing that, I've been listening to these podcasts and they brought up these lists. But I think there's also just something to be said about that's a lot of melee threat, and a lot of lists they struggle to throw out that many focused dice on the right turn. It's just funny because I remember dewbacks being so bad.
Dewbacks were never bad. They just couldn't get to the fight.
I would say they were just overcosted because.
No, I don't even think they were overcosted.
Because new ways to motivate them never changed. None of the ways that they got there has changed. It's just been points cost that's changed.
But it's also been lists. We dropped the standby sharing. Standby sharing destroyed.
Well, new ways to
dewbacks.
Motivate them should get them in there first.
No, because nobody took Vader.
Well, that's true, but that's also because the points dropped.
Yeah,
that's true. Clone nerfs plus points
Vader
drops equals dewbacks getting in there.
But Vader dewbacks was doing good before the points change. Remember?
Yeah, but the clones were nerfed at that point. Also, the dewbacks had already dropped at that point. The dewbacks just got their second points dropped, just barely. They dropped 5 more points.
Oh, that's right.
Even though they had already dropped like 20 or 15 or something.
Yeah, because they came out as 90. They're now 75. But even with dewbacks, it's not just set them up and go. It's not wind them up and go.
It kind of is. Ethan, so when he was playing that list he was playing, and he just took top 8. He got higher than I did. He played his list, and he did fine, but he's like, what did I do wrong? I was like, well, you just didn't run your dewbacks together. That's all you got to do.
No, they ran in a pack.
No, that's because I told him to run them in a pack. He didn't run them in a pack before, and I said, you just put them in a line and charge 1 point to the army. Because one of them will make it in for sure.
Which he did.
And he started doing that, and suddenly the effectiveness of his list just started going up. Because, I think really that's the big thing, right? You just have to have basic skills to know these are rushdown units. They rush together. But it's like the World War I thing, right? You rush your whole army across no man's land because your opponent can't shoot all of them.
Can't kill us all.
It's such a morbid thing, but you can't kill everybody.
It's fine in a tabletop game.
Yeah, but go for it in tabletop.
Yeah, don't think about it in a real sense. Think about it in tabletops.
No
can't
hurt
kill all my
feelings here.
Can't kill all my lizards.
Right? But that's what I would say.
But again, but there's still not a bad unit. There's definitely good units like that.
Leia. I'm still on the Leia is not the greatest.
I'm still going to prove you wrong.
Other people have already said that too.
I'm going to prove you all wrong.
Yeah, I do agree that if you know your unit, but I think as far as tournament goes, I just think it's interesting what people's choices were when it came down to brass tacks. And I think ours is just respective of our local area. But I think LVO, which is in a week or two.
So excited
myself. Yeah, that's literally 2 weeks from now. We will find out exactly what people were thinking about running.
I'm more excited because I think especially our tournament this is what's good in our reflective area. And I think just with COVID and the lack of conventions and the lack of big tournaments, we've seen a couple things with Nova. But even then, those were 30-man tournaments.
PAX was the same.
PAX was 22, yeah. It's very much it's isolated to people who live in that area. So it's kind of echo chambered of what's good. And I think we suffer from that too.
Well,
but it's LVO is going to blow that out because it's people coming from across the country.
I mean, we see that in card games a ton. Card games especially, where it's your echo chamber is just, it's big. Why is mono red aggro really big in your area? Because that's what everybody's running. I do think the internet helps break the echo chamber a little bit, but not as much. I completely agree. The echo chamber is still there.
Especially because the internet is an echo chamber.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, 100%. I still am on the ISPs are underrated list, just from firsthand experience.
Yep.
I mean, that list was so hard to
No,
beat. It's
they're
so
terrible.
hard.
They're so bad. They're terrible and deserve points
Please
drops.
buff, yeah.
Yeah, please buff the
Please buff the
ISPs.
ISPs. Do you know what's funny? Because nobody's running them, let's say they did an RRG today, I would bet $10. Like
They're dropping points.
that they would drop like 10
Yeah.
points each. But 10 points each, you know what that would do? That'd be like,
That's an extra 20 points.
yeah, you're like, I'll just put HQs on something. I'll take aggressive tactics. I'll do something. You would
I'll take specialists.
yeah, why not? Like, because specialists seem really good with your phase ones. Like,
I've heard good things about that.
just take a repair. Just take the repair dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's stuff
That
you get
is
to do.
20 points, yeah.
That is 20 points exactly.
I have
And then you
R2
get
and a repair, dude.
that was such a demoralizing thing to. And so in the last game I played against the ISPs with Josh, I had one of the ISPs down to 2 health left.
So it broke, because it breaks at 5.
It broke, and I went to shoot it again, and I whiffed and didn't kill it. And then R2D2 pops up and goes, "All right, you're healed."
And because the ISP hadn't gone yet, it never rolled its damage dice to break, so it never broke.
It never broke.
Because that's you don't break until you activate at your break level.
Remember that, guys. That's actually a key thing.
It's
a lot
a
of people
huge
just roll
thing.
for it right then. It doesn't actually happen until you activate.
Yeah. Most people don't have R2.
True.
Most people don't have repair.
Because I know a lot of people say he's expensive, but
He should never have been 35 points.
No.
35 points when he first came out. Oh my gosh. Even at 55 in GAR, he's still good.
Like, I don't know who play tested him and was like 35 points for a victory point. Like, yeah, I'll take that anytime.
Yeah, so did everybody.
It was crazy. Any other hot takes? No, maybe not even hot takes. Like thoughts, insights. Because we've talked. Man, we've probably put like 4 or 5 hours outside of this cast talking about the tournament.
Oh, yeah. Just
There's
over
just
the last
so
couple
much.
weeks, too. Just between prep, between getting everything organized, between speculating. Yeah, we've put a ton into this tournament, and it was really fun. We're going to do it again.
Yeah, we are.
We're shooting for May-ish. We're shooting for like May the 4th. It's either going to be... Because May the 4th this year is on a Wednesday, so it's either going to be the last week of April or the first week of May.
100%. And we're hoping to make it bigger because hopefully by then Omicron will die down a little bit so we won't have to deal too much with the masks, mandates, and stuff, throwing people away or giving health concerns. And we've been talking to people out of state and in other areas. So hopefully if we can get like 40 people going, we can get like a 40 to 50 person tournament.
Because I'll totally do a top 16 prize, too.
Dude,
I've already got, like... You guys don't understand. Me and Matt have like, the tournament ended, and then we were just kind of sitting around in the store, and I was like, Matt, I already know what the prizes are for the next tournament.
Josh says that, and I'm like, okay, that's cool, Josh. I got to work. And so I did. And then Josh messages me. He's like, I already have it all figured out.
And I started showing him, and I was like, look how cool these are. And he's like, yeah, those are cool.
It's really cool.
And there's new stuff that I've thought about this week that I haven't shown you, and I'm so excited to show you.
Like, guys, I don't know if you know, but Josh just runs amazing tournaments and does such a great job. Like, if anything, the prizes alone will be worth showing up.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Just side note, for the next one, we are hoping we're planning on making a cut to the top for a more definitive.
Yeah, we are going to advertise as 4 rounds. But we're also getting way ahead of ourselves because we have a whole fun event because we are still sticking with the tournament, fun tournament. And we've got a fun tournament coming up. End of February. We're still working on the date.
We still got to work out the dates, but that'll be more of a day of play thing. It'll be really fun. Either way, I have been really enjoying everything about Legion lately. I know I keep saying that, but like, man, the game feels so good.
Legion's in a really good spot right now.
Yeah, every list type seems to be able to perform some well.
I can't wait to see how Shadow Collective messes everything up. It's going to come in. It's either going to be amazing or it's going to throw everything out of balance. It's going to be so much fun. I'm excited to see it.
I'm afraid the droids are going to go from being this, like, we're really good, but we're never going to get nerfed kind of army to being suddenly like, all right, droids, we're hard nerfing you because of Shadow Collective. When really I would rather be like, no, just nerf Shadow Collective. Leave my droids alone. Nerf the bad boys.
They might be able to do that because, no game is ever... That's a lie. 40K does that, where you can mix factions.
But that also leads to a ton of just weird rules interactions.
Really bad example.
Yeah.
But this one is built to interact.
Mm-hmm.
And I have, just looking how AMG has been handling Legion and Marvel Crisis Protocol. Like, I have faith that this is going to be good.
Agreed. On our way out, I have one question. What do you think is the best unit right now, if competitively?
Leia.
What? Okay.
Your dice. More than
I'll
anything.
agree on that. There's a reason I play white dice save factions. So I don't have to be mad when my red dice start failing.
But if I had to pick like a unit, I think it's the B2 Haas. I think I consistently see those always running amazingly. Because even think about this, like every unit that ran, or every list that ran B2 Haas plays top 8.
Yeah. Also, every list that ran Force users plays top 8.
Oh no, never mind. First place didn't run any B2s. He just ran B1s.
He just ran B1s, yeah.
So never mind. But I'm not changing as a unit. B2s are probably the best unit.
Like, per pound, points per cost. Like,
Yeah.
if you take this unit, it's not a bad unit.
I was like, I wanted to say Maul because Maul is consistently everywhere, but I'm like, no, I think B2s make Maul better because they help take the stress off of Maul.
They definitely spread the threat. I do still like B1s, but my big thing with B1s lately is there's so many dice going around that your B1s just seem to get chomped.
Bowling pins.
Yeah, and even like you got to think about it this way: a dewback with tenacity will find a way to suffer the wound so that it throws 7 dice instead, which is enough to chomp your B1s in one go.
So is that your pick for best unit?
I think it is. I think
dewback?
after the way this past tournament went, like I want to say Maul, but I think with Maul that's just a caveat of all Force users because of how good they can be when it comes to objective play. But I do want to. The two things that I was really worried about this tournament and really scared me a lot were the dewbacks. Just more than anything else. I think they are the thing to beat right now. What's funny is I don't think that they're as bad as Tauntauns were at the time, because Tauntauns just have so much going for them. It's just really hard to deal with. But with the dewbacks, I don't feel like they're unmanageable. I just feel like they are far enough ahead in the race that they'll cross the line first. Does that make sense? Like, they're not going to win the race by a full lap, but they'll beat you by a couple seconds. But a couple seconds is still first place, if that makes sense. And while they may not be hard to play, the other things in that list are hard to play, if that makes sense.
Vader.
Yeah.
The ATS suit, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, because I just think they offer enough spread threat. That would be my bet.
All right. I can agree with that. I can see that. All right, final thoughts?
Eat your green veggies, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Exercise your white dice.
And don't be afraid to put them in dice jail. Buy a dice jail.
Put your red dice in there. All right. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.